Couch of Thrones! Yeah! Couch of Thrones!
Welcome! Welcome to Couch of Thrones!
This is the Iron Couch.
Cheers, cheers. Oh yeah,
Cheers.
Stick behind.
This is a big,
I know, this is dangerous.
Big finale.
Trevor,
Dude,
cheers.
that's dangerous.
Oh,
Cheers.
Indeed. Whoa.
Oh, romantic.
I thought you were cheersing me, and you totally
Cheers.
psyched me out. He's like, yeah, I'm getting romantic.
No cheers for you.
So we're
got
some
me.
of us are drinking a Dornish Red. They David and Aaron are drinking
A Northern White?
a Northern White.
North of the wall white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So different parts of Westeros represented
That's
this
true.
evening.
Yeah.
If you're joining us for the first time, this is a show where we talk about Game of Thrones through our league. So we were all in a league. This is all of our league members except for one, Wendy Fox, who's been on the show before, who's amazing, who could not be here tonight. So Wendy, if you're watching, we love you. We wish you could be here, and we raise a glass to you
And to your health.
and to your health. And so we're going to talk about how our league did, because this is it. This is the big shebang.
Yeah, this is
Last
what it was
episode,
all
this
leading
is
up
all
to.
leading up to. And so maybe we should call this Couch of Losers, because every person on this couch or these stools lost the draft
Yeah,
league.
we all lost the game of Game of Thrones.
Indeed. The winner was Wendy.
Woo!
Yay! Wendy with a whopping 805 points.
It was a monster haul.
805 points. So Wendy, we have a little prize for you. You're the official Hand of the King.
Oh man, that's so
See?
cool! Behold.
Behold the Hand of the King, a pin.
Should we put it up? Should we put it up there with
Yeah, here, do you guys
with
want
our
to
silver
put it up there
dragon?
with our
Yes.
silver dragon? There you go. Wendy, that's
Ice
for you.
dragon.
Official Hand of the King. Yay.
Hey, nice. I like it.
Okay, so so Wendy's in first place. Tied for second place is me and Bondo, me and Chris Bond here.
Yay!
Chris Bond, you came from the bottom to tied for second place.
It's a rags to riches tale.
Yeah.
Truly, I started from the bottom and now I'm here.
That's
know?
right, exactly.
It's great.
Dave Pop Tail.
It was, but I'm in great company. So,
Well, that's
she really
kind.
knows her stuff, this Mel. So it was great. I'm proud.
Who were
But-
your characters that got you the most points?
You know what? Honestly, it was on the back of Beric Dondarrion and no one else.
Yeah.
I mean, he had that
Yeah.
magic sword, and it was the magic sword that
Lighten it
soared me up to the top.
Oh,
so,
nice. Good pun.
Thanks, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah, but he got magic points. He got magic points for like every time
He
lit
sneezed
that
magic. It
sword.
was beautiful.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And magic points are big points.
And can we talk about how I was soaring on the podium week after week after week, but I picked no one from the north.
No one from the
And then that episode that absolutely murdered for Chris Bond
literally
was my fall from grace.
Yeah.
I got no points, not a single point in episode 6.
No.
Which, is arguably the worst episode of the season. And I...
not really arguably yet.
Yeah. and it tanked the show and me.
Yeah.
It was a rough episode. I wasn't even allowed on the couch last
No.
week.
You know, they said winter is here, so we should have paid a little more attention.
Right?
Winter
To
is
the
here.
ad campaign.
You know?
Yeah.
They weren't joking with
Yeah.
the whole Night King on the poster.
Yeah.
Should have known better.
I think what we learned in this draft is that the Lannister, there's no luck with the Lannisters. You're not going to win with Lannisters. You don't make friends with Lannisters.
No.
None of it.
They pay their debts everywhere, but in this league.
Yeah, because so in third place is Trevor
Hi.
Martin here.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really
Let's
counting on Danny taking the Iron Throne because you get 200 points if you take the Iron Throne, and that was the only way I was going to win.
Yeah.
And that was she was my first pick, and that was it.
And Daenerys brought you most of your points.
she did.
Mostly
she did.
for violence, although.
Mostly for violence. I also had like the triple threat. Drinkers, killers, and witty people like the Hound and Bronn.
Yeah.
Those guys, they could give me points. And
Braun got a lot of points, no?
I thought Bronn got like about 35 points this week.
Yeah.
Didn't do as well as I thought he.
No.
Yeah,
would.
Bronn was in your top 5 though. He and Grey Worm and the Hound
Well,
and
that's right.
Daenerys were your big points.
Grey
That's
Worm
a
got
good
it
team.
on,
Lots
though,
of
that's
good
why.
people.
Yeah, but then he did nothing else.
Yeah.
He kind of just walked
Well-
across Westeros.
Yeah.
With his
Very,
army.
very quickly.
He
Very
lost
quickly.
his
Yeah.
fighting spirit.
Very
yeah.
off camera, yeah.
And then in Matt, then you were next. And the thing is that Matt, Aaron, and David, you guys had Lannisters, and
And
we
we were all
thought they were
under
going to
500.
perform better than they did. We all thought they would perform better than they did. I mean, I know it was going to be a lot about the North, but we expected the Lannisters to...
Be big movers.
Yeah.
And
Something,
I
to do
definitely
something.
picked
Yeah.
the wrong Clegane.
Yeah.
I picked the Mountain early, like second, maybe third choice. I had the Mountain, and I should have picked the Hound. Because the Mountain
Yeah.
doesn't talk, as far as we
Yeah.
can tell, he doesn't eat. All of these things that
He
like,
doesn't have to. He's-
wits points and drinking points. The sex he has is definitely not consensual and
Right.
never on screen. So
Thank
I
God.
feel like I just straight up picked with my heart for violence as opposed to my head. I should
Yeah,
have
that's-
picked because I
That's
love
very
when the mountain's in a
self-reflective of
fight.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the mountain is in a fight, it is so great.
Well, let's talk about this. So this is a good segue into this first scene, and I think we'll get to this. We'll touch on everyone because so let's talk about Let's talk about King's Landing. Let's talk about arriving in King's Landing, and I mean, this was an opportunity. Again, they're bringing so many people together, right? So it was like all these little conversations between Podrick kind of showing up, Brienne showing up. Bronn and Tyrion having that little conversation. So did you feel that they did a good job setting up the tension of all these people meeting? How did we feel about that beginning?
It didn't feel very tense at all, actually. It just felt like, a bunch of people, a bunch of work friends who happen to see each other who walk into, like, we're going to Kelsey's or something for wings. Like, they were just talking about, oh,
King's Landing
hey,
Kelsey's.
Arya's still alive. Oh, really? Oh, good. I hope she's doing well. Like, that kind of thing. So it didn't, that lacked the tension. But as soon as they got to the pit, I felt like then it ratcheted up and the entrance, Dany's entrance, as compared to Cersei's entrance, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Well,
Upstaging.
considering this episode and the episode before it both began with a whole bunch of walking and talking,
Yeah.
I gotta say the walking and talking in this episode was satisfying.
Yes.
It wasn't just rehashing things we had seen before with like Gendry describing things for no logical reason,
Right.
just a waste of screen time. It felt like the relationships were being revisited. We
Yeah.
were like rekindling things. The conversations were things I wanted to see. And that, to me, was really a big difference between
Yeah.
episode 6, where there was some shark jumping, and episode 7, where there was some serious redemption.
Yeah.
Well, there's some really cool reunions. I think everyone was waiting on seeing.
Brienne and Jamie.
Brienne and
that was
Brienne and the
one.
Hound for me. I thought
Brienne
that
the
was-
Hound, Brienne
Yeah.
and
That
Jamie.
was
Yeah.
a great moment.
Brienne's been
Brienne and Jamie.
not on very much this year, so
Yeah.
it's been nice to have her
Yeah.
have something to do.
Yeah, but it was cool to see the Hound and Brienne
Yeah.
connect, and then Cersei and Tyrion. I mean, you've been waiting seasons
Right.
Right.
for them to
For
collide.
sure.
Like, how is this gonna work out? And it was very cool. So I thought it was a really great way to set it all up, to get into the pit. I thought it was really well done, and I was wondering how is this expose on White's gonna happen, and I thought they did it with a lot of care and it was exciting. It was the way how the Hound was scared of the box. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, that
it
was cool.
It was very cool.
I kind of liked too the way people spoke to each other, because I feel like when you see somebody you haven't seen for a while, if you've ever had a falling out with somebody or a relative that maybe you had
That maybe tried to kill you.
maybe
Yeah.
if you've ever had that happen to you,
Or
you'll
did
know.
kill you, the Hound, with the Hound.
Yeah, exactly. That did kill you. I feel like the first encounter isn't going to be heated, you again. There's not going to be some crazy. It is going to be hey, right, how's it going? Okay, there was the kind of tentative, everyone kind of figuring out how to talk to each other again was sort of interesting to me. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's like when you really don't like somebody and you haven't seen them for a long time, and then when you do see them and you're in an awkward social setting,
Yeah.
you'll say something that's really mundane to each other, and
Yeah.
I felt, hey, I wonder when the food's getting here.
Right.
Yeah, to
Right.
break the ice almost. And I felt that from Tyrion and Cersei's where is she? She'll be here in a second. Like that. It
Yeah.
was, I don't know, it was just
Yeah.
kind of, it was very reminiscent of of situations I did. I don't like this person. Pass me a piece of watermelon, thanks.
Yeah.
One of those.
But I will say that the Clegane Bowl tease of you guys were
Yes.
waiting for this all season. It's not happening this season, but in season 8, Clegane Bowl, it was ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
It was
Like-
the menace you get in old school WWF, where it's I'm gonna get you,
Yeah.
and it's
Like-
yep, very nice.
So what do you guys think he meant by you know how you're gonna die. You know who's gonna kill you. Like, because the Hound goes up to his brother and says, you know, you're still in there.
Yeah.
But you know this isn't how it happens.
Right.
So what do you guys? What is he talking about?
I think he was just personally, because I don't have any knowledge of any specific prophecy or conversation, unless somebody out there, if you're watching and you know of something we don't, or something we've forgotten or we missed. I just think he was like, you know that ultimately the person who's going to end you is going to be me because of everything you put me through. Like I thought that's what he was.
The fight you had
too.
with you had with Oberyn isn't allowed to kill you because I'm going to kill you.
You're right though, Trevor.
But
Like they never had.
And the way that he said it, I can't remember exactly what he said. It sounded to me like this isn't how it happens. It's not me and you fighting each other. You know how you're gonna die.
Maybe.
Yeah, I got that impression too.
And so. And here's my theory.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it Beric Dondarrion? Because Beric Dondarrion is like his last quest was to find the mountain.
Yeah, that was his job. Yeah,
and in the book, it's the only thing he can remember about his life.
Right.
Yes.
Everything else, because he's been like murdered and brought back to life, a little piece of him falls away every time.
Right.
And the only part he has left, he doesn't remember his family. He only remembers that Ned Stark said, "Go get the mountain."
And if you think about it from the mountain's perspective, that this guy keeps dying, but he keeps showing up, it's kind of like the Terminators.
Yeah,
like I don't know how close he ever got to him, but it's like this guy you keep maybe that's it.
Well, and also the Hound is like becoming this religious person potentially now with the Lord of Light. Like
True,
he is tapped into something new.
And so if Beric shows up to kill his brother, it would be with the god that the Hound is developing some kind of relationship with.
Yeah.
So has he seen it in the fire? Are we suggesting that?
Maybe.
Is that
Or maybe the Cleganes made a trip to Maggie the Frog.
Yeah, maybe everybody
Nobody's
goes to Maggie
mentioned
the
it.
Frog and gets their prophecy.
It's the in thing to do in King's Landing.
Right, maybe. I mean, we'll get to whether or not Beric is around to do that.
Right.
And we'll get to that later because we will get to that
Mountain's not on our
historic
list,
final moment of the show. So let's talk a little bit about. What's going on?
We were asking if the mountain was on Arya's list.
On Arya's list.
Yeah. I don't think.
I think it's just the Hound.
The Hound was because he killed.
Yeah, because the mountain just like killed some horses and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, Wendy Fox is joining us
Hey!
in the comments.
Yay!
The winner of The Hand of the King. She's
Cheers.
very excited for the win. And she's also, she really wishes that Clegane Bowl had happened. It was such a tease.
Yeah.
Felt like that was the moment, right?
Yeah. Lynn is asking if you still think Cersei's faking this pregnancy.
Ooh.
That's a really good question, Lynn, because I was very adamant that she was. I think she could still be. Like, I don't know. That's my honest answer. I don't know. I think it could also just be a hysterical pregnancy in this, I hate using that word, but in the sense that I think she could be convinced that she's pregnant, but not. Like, anything's up for grabs, I think, for Cersei right now. Go ahead, David.
Sorry, could the fake be that Jaime's the father and that the actual baby is something that Qyburn made?
Yeah, sure.
So that it'll be much easier for Jaime to put a sword in there?
Oh, man.
Is that perhaps where we're going?
Could be. I mean, anything's possible with Qyburn and Cersei together.
Right. Because if he can do all the things he can do, he could probably make a something in whatever's in there, baby or not.
Here's why I think it's not a thing, is because from a plot standpoint, like even in yesterday's episode, it's like it's not amounting to anything. Jaime leaves anyway, thank goodness.
Right.
But it's like it doesn't seem to actually be connected to anything outside of the moment where Tyrion and when she reveals it to Tyrion, and that somehow changes that meeting. We don't know how it shifted that meeting, like the actual conversation, because we cut away from it. But outside of that, it didn't really have much of an impact anymore. Like, Jaime was like, screw this, you're nuts, and I can't trust you, I'm going.
And it really felt like Cersei was telegraphing hard to Tyrion that she was pregnant.
She was like,
and then I was
pickles and peanut butter, and
then I was just really worried. I was worried.
worried.
And she just kept doing that. And then Tyrion, after 5 of those, is like, oh, you're pregnant.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, and maybe she's just, maybe this is not a hysterical pregnancy at all. This is just her trying to badly manipulate. Because if
Or she's
Cersei
pregnant and-
if Cersei can do one thing, it's manipulate things really, really badly,
Yeah.
and then she gets nothing resembling what she wants after doing all of that effort.
I'm interested, Lynn, what you think. Like, I don't know, do you think that she's really pregnant? I'm curious. I'm really curious what other people think about
Well,
that.
Lynn's actually wondering why we think Cersei didn't kill Tyrion.
Okay, so I have some feelings around that that I'll speak to and then open it up. I think that she didn't kill him because she knew that if she killed him in that moment, then she was dead. Like, there's too many people from... They don't have an army right now, really. They need the gold company from Essos.
Yeah.
If she killed Tyrion, that's it. All those people in the dragon pit, go kill her.
Yeah, and the dragons are like a block away right now.
Yeah, so I felt that in that moment, for her, it was about... If it's really about the Lannister legacy, which I have feelings around anyway, like, I don't think she actually cares about the Lannister legacy. I think she cares about herself. But if it is about that, then it's not a wise move to kill him in that moment. That's my feeling around it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
makes
What
sense.
other people
I
think?
agree. It was
Yeah.
a self-preservation move. If she could have got away with it, she would have done it.
I thought so too. Yeah, like, why not, right?
Yeah.
One thing that was mentioned is we're dead last. You never mentioned.
Oh, I didn't.
So not only were we last, we didn't even get mentioned for being last. But
That's
Maybe
what
I was
happens.
being kind.
there was that great scene last night where Aaron and I got really excited, where Tyrion just said, "Oh, wine," and walked over and grabbed some wine, poured it, drank, and we were like, points! Because Tyrion has not gotten us points this year, and we were really excited for 5 points.
Yeah.
And he
I'm sorry I didn't mention you. I didn't
no,
need to.
it's okay. I just wanted to say why we were losers.
Okay, well, now we all know.
In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you don't get mentioned.
Yeah.
But more so how excited we were for 5 points for
Yeah.
a cup of wine, and because it was lean with young Tyrion
It was
this year.
exciting when they were in the same room together and had
And
such
we had
a
both of them.
extended scene.
Yeah.
We had both of them.
Yes.
It's like they'll drink, maybe they'll fight, maybe they'll kiss. I don't know. Like, who knows? This
Who knows how
season.
this
Anything that gets points.
I will say that the acting, like,
Amazing.
that scene was really extraordinary, I thought,
Yeah.
between Tyrion and Cersei. Like, Lena Headey and Peter Dinklage, like, great acting.
As opposed to Lena Headey and Braun.
who are never in a scene together because they dated at one point and
yeah.
don't like each other.
Come on, Pod, let's go get a beer.
Yeah. Come on, Pod.
Why?
Wow, I
Hey,
forgot
no,
about
we gotta
that.
go.
It's
Come on, Pod.
It's
Let's
like-
get out of my ex's frame.
Wow.
Before I get in real trouble.
That's
I
Yeah.
didn't even think of that.
I didn't
Yeah.
either, but now that's so
It all
obvious.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Get him out of here. Send him for a beer.
I remember us being like, does Pod know Braun?
Yeah,
And
we were
I was
like, why
I
are they-
assume
Yeah.
they're buddies
Oh,
from
yeah.
back in the day.
From back in the day,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Tyrion,
Yeah,
right?
they were all
There was
hanging out
no
with Tyrion.
reason for them to stick around and watch that. That'd be really interesting.
Wow, they wrote that in because
They're
of
like-
that.
Because, apparently because
A
they dated and
And don't really like sharing screen time.
Patricia Hollinger is
Wow.
wondering if Cersei's baby is Euron's, and I don't think so because I don't think anything has happened there yet.
No.
Well, Lynn agrees that she believes Cersei's pregnant, but that it might not be Jaime's.
Do you think it's Euron's?
Oh.
That's
Qyburn.
interesting.
Or maybe some...
Qyburn.
Qyburn's
Oh,
magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a magical
Magic,
Qyburn
not
baby.
his seed.
No, not his
Okay.
actual. He doesn't have. Well, he might. I don't know.
I'm
He's
sure he
busy.
has.
I don't know.
He loves magic and science. There's no time for that.
Yeah, scientists don't have sex.
No time for that.
Necromancers,
Yeah.
magicians can't have
I
sex.
think she's making it up. I don't really know what plot purpose it would serve for her to have a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not. It would be very obvious that it's not really an heir to the throne.
well, no, especially because 2 other people had some fun times last night and probably were producing an heir.
Well, yeah,
A
incest babies,
Targaryen heir.
incest babies take the throne. That's standard in Westeros.
That's-
Incest babies always get
That's
the
the
throne.
tag for season 8.
Yes.
Incest babies take the throne.
Yeah. I mean, it happened with the Targaryens for generations. So,
Yeah.
you know, if Jaime and Cersei had a baby, like Cersei said a few episodes ago, we don't have to hide this. The Targaryens never hid it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if we have a Jaime Cersei baby,
John's not
everyone's
gonna like
accept
it. John's not gonna like
John's not gonna like it. I agree.
it. And like they might. Do you think Bran might not tell him that like we have to keep this secret? Like, 'cause
No, he
No,
was
he's-
very adamant.
He said, "Let's tell you."
do you think he'll change
Yeah,
his mind
must
in
tell
a
him.
year and a half or 2.5 years from now and go, you know, I don't think we should tell him.
No, I don't think Bran. I don't think he can make.
Oh, John's
no, I don't
not.
think the 3-eyed Raven can make that choice.
John's
It's
not gonna like this.
No,
No.
John isn't gonna like it.
I do
well,
think-
So
I
for
think
anybody who's
Daenerys
wondering,
is
we
gonna
have
not like
totally
it.
moved into the part where
Sorry.
John and Daenerys have sex.
Yeah.
Right after
We
it's
think.
revealed.
We think.
Right after it's revealed that, in fact, it's fully revealed. Because I mean, let's be honest, they've been revealing it slowly for a while now. Like,
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
is the legitimate son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark.
And can we talk for a moment about Bran's powers? His omniscience.
Yes.
His
and,
timing.
And the way that he knows some things and not other things, but he can sort of dig in to find it. I feel like when the Max von Sydow version of the Three-Eyed Raven gave the power over to Bran, it's sort of like handing him all the volumes of Encyclopedia Westerosia. And so Bran hasn't read it, he just has it.
Well, it
And
takes
so
time to funnel
that's
through
the
all
thing.
of those
You know, Max
visions,
von Sydow's
right?
character is God knows how old. He's had time to read the whole encyclopedia.
Yeah.
But when Bran is told, oh yeah, well this happened in Dorne, that's when Bran's like, oh, let me look that page up. Oh shit,
Oh.
yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
But is he gonna quickly go to the, is he gonna quickly go to the page where Jon and Daenerys are having sex and go send a raven over there and like
Stop
Jon,
this."
stop this, you don't
It's
do
too
this.
late.
Ah.
I mean, the Ravens are going quickly this season, but not that quickly.
Well, they could. And they're-
Also, John hasn't had sex in a while, so it's probably not going to be.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
over.
it won't take long to make that incest baby.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Now,
But-
Lynn is saying artificial insemination. Is there a maester chain for that?
There should be. Fertility, it's a very important part
And
of
Sam
it.
is saying that's so Raven.
Oh.
Oh.
Nice.
I kind of get that reference. I have to go to my Bran encyclopedia. And,
That's right.
Yeah.
Just funnel back into it. So just continuing the Tyrion thread for a moment, because there's a lot of speculation online about why Tyrion was staring at the door while they were having sex, with that pained look on his face. So what are the theories on why he was doing that on this couch?
I mean, I could be way off, but it seems like Tyrion's the most trusted advisor right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe Tyrion sees that all I have to offer her is my counsel, and I'm kind of the first word to her.
Yeah.
And now here comes this miraculous hero king,
Mhm.
and maybe basically she's gonna follow him, and it kind of reduces his role in the
Right.
team a little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah, Tyrion's
Yeah.
had a season where almost every choice he's made has been the wrong choice. He's been outfoxed
Oh,
constantly,
Tyrion.
and Jon has really pulled everyone's ass out of the fire. And so this is yet another moment.
It's like so many.
Yeah, right? Except for Daenerys, because she's fine in the fire.
Yeah.
But I feel like Tyrion is just seeing himself completely replaced.
And specifically by Jon, because if you'll recall, before Loot Train happened, she asked his advice on the beach,
Yeah.
and says, "What would you do?" And he counsels her not to kill civilians and burn buildings, and she takes a military option, and I think I think they've been setting up all season that he is going to be that new
Right.
second.
I read two theories that I think both are interesting. One has to do with what you guys are talking about, but takes it further in the sense that Tyrion was talking to her about having a successor or a line of succession outside of the monarchy, of the
Right.
bloodline.
Mhm.
And so he might be thinking, oh no, you're just gonna fall in love with this guy, boink him, and this is just gonna be the same wheel that we've had all the time. You're not breaking the wheel, you're just adding a new spoke to the wheel.
Yeah.
So there's that theory, and the other one, which is tied into this conversation about his conversation with Cersei, is that Tyrion potentially betrayed Daenerys, or that conversation with Cersei where she comes out and lies and isn't going to go to the north, that he somehow knew about that, or that there's more to that conversation that we know. I don't know that I don't think that that's what happened, but it's an interesting idea.
It was such an abrupt cut there, where it's like you're pregnant, and then cut, and then we saw another scene, and then he comes back to the dragon pit, and it was like, you could see that maybe what's the continuation of that conversation?
Yeah,
right.
right.
But I think the previous option was the most interesting to me, is that you've got these people who want to break this wheel. You got him, and you have Varys, who are tired of being under the yoke of these people.
Yes.
Who just keep having sex with their family members and
Stop the
and
madness.
sitting on this throne. Yeah. So I think that's the most, to me, that would be the most interesting plot device is to, now you've got this group of like the kind of the Illuminati a little bit, deciding we don't want this anymore. We don't want monarchy anymore. We want something different.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting.
I think so too. I like that. I like that angle. I don't know about the whole Cersei reversal was interesting.
Yeah, especially considering that Cersei stopped Jaime while planning to bring the 8 people remaining in the Lannister army up north, because pretty much everybody died during the loot train. There are tatters left of the Lannister army.
Yeah.
The fact that Cersei's military mind didn't think, let's send what's left of the Lannister army. Nobody's going to know that I'm bringing in the Gold Company. I'm going to keep this from Jaime. I'm going to keep this from everybody. And let Jaime go north. Sure, great. The fact that she tells him, I'm bringing in the Gold Company, and then lets him leave.
It's maddening.
She's just so bad at this job.
Yes, she is.
Is it possible that... It's probably not possible. Is it possible that she has a plan of some sort that it's I don't care if they know. There's, they're still going to have to make this choice. They're already going that way. It's not like they're going to come back and fight me now. So, and by the time the Gold Company gets... Because it's, otherwise, she's not very smart.
She probably
I don't
doesn't
think
care
she
though.
is.
They're gonna be busy, obviously, immediately. Winterfell will probably be overtaken.
Oh yeah,
them.
I'm imagining.
So
there's
really,
a
she
battle
probably
around.
doesn't care because
Yeah.
what are they gonna do
Exactly.
about it?
Yeah. Or potentially she thinks that Jaime's not going to say anything.
I think
Where do
she's
you
a.
think Jaime's
I think
going?
she's a study
Jaime
in. When you are driven by vengeance and pride, you cannot
Make good choices.
You cannot make good choices. I think she's a case study in she is so hell bent on destroying anybody who even threatens her that she will drive her lover / brother away and the baby daddy the baby that maybe exists away because she's just so hell bent on prevailing that she actually can't see the forest for the trees. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've all kind of nicknamed her the Mad Queen, and it's quite clear that she has sacrificed any semblance of leading the kingdoms for the strict goal of murdering all challengers. And that's not leading. That's not leadership. That's certainly not going to win the hearts of the people who are left in the Reach and in the
No,
Stormlands.
and she never cared about
No,
that, though.
she's
But
clearly-
it's you're never going to hang on once you've
She's no
killed,
Marjorie Tyrell.
Yeah, once you've exactly. But once you've killed all of your challengers, you still need to lead those people.
Right.
And ultimately, even if she won, she'd eventually get usurped by somebody else because nobody loves their leader.
Right. Do you guys think that Jaime, how do you think Jaime will act next? I'm imagining he's going north. That's my imagining, but does anyone...
I think he's gonna go find Brienne. He's gonna go to Winterfell.
Winterfell?
Yeah.
That's going to be awkward because Bran's there, and guess who
Yeah.
pushed Bran out of a window?
Although
Oh,
Bran
interesting.
doesn't remember that, so he'd have to go to
He's
that
gonna,
page.
But doesn't he
and be
you
like,
go
oh,
to that
look who
page?
threw Bran Stark out a window.
You
But
go to
he-
the Jamie page and it's all birth date, death date, or not
People
death
he threw
date,
out of
yeah.
windows.
People
People he threw out of windows.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
the
like-
first page he goes to?
Yeah.
Hey, I got this. Maybe I should just check this
Yeah,
out.
I would check the Jamie
Yeah, yeah,
page
yeah.
right
Although
away.
Oh.
it'll be interesting to see how much he cares because
Yeah,
he's not
so much
Bran
has
Stark
happened.
anymore.
Right.
He's
In,
said
in
that.
fair, so do you think that Jamie pushing him out of the window did him a favor?
Not so much that as will he care
No,
because I think he'll be a little bit indifferent to it.
Right, I'm
I
not that
think-
kid
Yeah,
anymore.
I think he and Jamie will have a moment. I don't think he'll announce to everyone this guy threw me out a window
Yeah.
because he'll understand that Jamie is far more useful as
Right.
an excellent killer on
Yeah.
the side of the living
Yeah.
than he is as someone punished for a crime that Bran doesn't really feel like happened to him anymore.
Right.
Right.
I also feel like it was just
Yeah.
his destiny to become the Three-Eyed Raven.
Yeah.
So it was just a part of the, a step
Yeah.
on the pathway, for him to do that. So
Yeah.
I feel like I love the turn that Jamie has taken over this arc of
The
I
whole-
guess the sixth
whole thing.
season.
Yeah, totally.
And for him to make this choice, I thought was really exciting. It was actually the one thing that surprised me fully this whole season.
Oh,
that
yeah?
You didn't kind of see coming a mile away.
I felt like what was
'Cause I-
happening with Olenna
yeah.
when she said, "Are you so poisoned that that it's too late for you?" And Jamie says, "Yeah, I think I am."
Yeah.
And when that seed was laid, I was like, "Oh man, I really hope Jamie comes to his senses somehow, goes north to Winterfell, connects with Brienne, and then is willing to go assassinate his sister." To me, that would be the best use of Jamie in this show.
Right.
To be the way we get into Cersei and dead.
Well, I felt from last season, I felt like you were seeing that turn with Jamie, and you were like, oh, he's becoming a good guy. Then there was that spat at the twins.
Yep.
And he told Edmure Tully, I'm going to toss your kid in the river. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, oh man, bad boy for life. Like, this guy
Yeah.
loves Cersei. He's as a knight, he's got all that. He's connecting with Brienne on the loyalty and the honor.
Right.
But his loyalty is with Cersei.
Yes,
And I thought that was a big, like, kind of foothold for him. Like, okay, he's this bad guy that we can really feel for. And when Cersei dies, it's going to be a yeah. But if Jamie died, it would have been a you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for him to make that move, for me it was right out of right field, and I was really satisfied, and I was excited for the possibilities. You know?
Yeah, it was good to see that turn from what he was saying to Olenna, then hearing the right words from Brienne.
Yeah,
and
Brienne
then
having that
choice.
moment of fuck loyalty. That was such a great moment. And also for Brienne, like, it was nice to see Brienne have this moment. Because that character is always so composed and always so about duty and about honor.
She has such a basic true north of loyalty.
Yes.
And for her to finally make that a bit more complex and realize that there are bigger things than the thing you promised to some person.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a big
I
deal.
loved that.
On the comments, Pat Hollinger is asking, who is the Gold Company? Where have they been all this time?
So the Gold Company, from what I understand, are mercenaries that are in Essos.
And they have a Targaryen connection.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Does anyone know more about the Targaryen connection? I don't quite remember.
I can't remember who it was. Sorry, you probably know.
You know what? I don't.
Okay.
I heard something about it. Something about the Blacks. Like they're a family of Targaryens that feel that they're supposed to be in power. Like anybody jump in?
I think it was like one of the guys. So I don't know if it's one of the brothers of that generation left, joined. What's the name of Dario's company?
He joined that company.
Yeah, he joined that company.
And then he said, I'm going to start my own.
I'm going to start my own. And then and people loyal to the Targaryens joined that, and they became the greatest. So now they're the best mercenaries.
But the reason they started the cause was because they were like this slighted Targaryen family.
Yeah.
That there was somebody, this guy that defected essentially, and went out on his own. He started this group called the Black something.
I can't remember.
And they were this kind of side Targaryens that were like, we should be, and we're fighting for our cause, but we need some money, so what are we good at? Let's kick some ass.
Well, and it's interesting that they're in Essos this whole time, where Dany has been growing up her whole life.
It's true, yeah.
And there's never been a time where this Targaryenism
Well,
is together.
there's 20,000 of them from, I'm like double checking my stats now, of infantry, cavalry, and they have war elephants, which she did mention last night. Cersei did mention. They have a reputation of never breaking a contract, which is very uncommon for mercenaries.
Their word is good as gold.
That's it.
That's a good slogan.
And it's true that Davos in season 4 suggested to Stannis that he hire the Golden Company to help him win the Iron Throne, but Stannis refused. And then Davos, of course, called him on the fact that he would use blood magic but not hire mercenaries. Because Davos is the best and Stannis was the worst. But anyway,
digressing. He had good grammar, though.
The Blackfire Rebellion.
That's it. Thank you. And then, that's why Jorah said that she shouldn't trust Dario Naharis because he was a member of the Gold Company at some point. He fought for them before pledging his sword to Viserys. Right. So, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that, of her working with these mercenaries. I mean, they sound troublesome.
They sound good.
They sound great.
They sound like a party. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Capable.
And it'll be interesting to see if their desire to never break a contract will be broken by their desire to be the official army of a Targaryen king or queen.
Well,
that's where they came from, and they would love to not be mercenaries and maybe have their honor back.
Sure.
It would be interesting to see if that's the case.
And what's also very interesting is the only reason that they're coming is because the Iron Bank, is funding them.
Yeah.
And the Iron Bank, the only reason they're footing the bill is because they think that Cersei is the one. But if Cersei starts going a little wada, maybe they will decide to make a change in leadership.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, Bravo, the bankers, it's tricky.
It's like a mortgage, though. Whoever's paying the bill has the mercenaries.
Yes.
And so if
I guess that's true. If the bank,
if the bank is like, I'm sorry, I'm repoing your mercenaries.
Yeah.
Then the mercenaries work for the
Bravos.
bank.
Yeah.
And if Bravos is like the Targaryen's winning, then all of a sudden loyalties shift because the owner of that contract is where the loyalty lies.
And I think
someone's got to pay that bill in the end.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right.
But
Exactly.
I think even more importantly for the Iron Bank, though, is that if you've got this leadership who doesn't believe in like slavery and doesn't believe in this system, then all of a sudden now your bank you're going to be losing a lot of money. Right. And so it's important for them to keep the status quo in Westeros.
Right. Yeah.
So I think the Iron Bank is probably going to play a bigger role in the last season.
I think so too. Yeah.
Should have had Tycho next year.
That's right.
I should have had Dario next year.
But I think that's an interesting thing about our league is that we all made choices based on what we thought might happen in this season, and a lot of the things
or we thought what the rules were.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we also thought. I think like some of the things we thought would come to pass this season have been pushed into next season. So that's part of why I think things didn't happen maybe in the way we thought.
But even how many points is your banker going to get you though? I mean, even the scene that
we won't drink anything.
Even there's no drinking. There's not. If I don't need to see the banker at the body house. I mean, I think they're saving the witty lines for other people.
Maybe
not,
he
not
has some like hot sex.
You know what was
that's what I was thinking. Maybe
Why
like
would
they send him to
show
the
some
brothel or the
banker sex?
You know what was interesting? Just to take a step back for the whole, just that our whole game here was that you really see where the real points come from.
Right.
You know, we figure, I'm going to take Tyrion because he drinks. So I'm going to take, but the real points come from the magic and the fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think,
and the seeding, like ending up on a seed.
and knowing that we were going to have this season that was going to be truncated and everything was going to happen so quickly, and there was going to be more than one. Usually, there's one big battle. We saw a lot of battles this season, so that you knew there was going to be a lot of blood, and just kind of getting a sense of. You know, because Trevor and I do fantasy basketball, I do fantasy football. So you find a league, you figure what's the strategy. Okay, quarterbacks go score the most points. Is there another slot for
offensive
flex?
Do you give points when they like drink a lot of Gatorade?
Yeah, you don't. So you make a strategy,
points.
and it was actually a really cool exercise being in the season. Really going in it kind of blind, going all right. I think this guy. Like I picked Gendry thinking with my second overall pick. This is after I learned that it's not a death pool.
Yes,
right?
because
Olenna
Chris thought it was a
Tyrell.
death pool.
Whoops. And
But
I
you got
said,
some points from Olenna.
well, I was like,
sure.
200 points scores you the most points. Everybody else that could have took the Iron Throne was off the board.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sleeper pick, Gendry. I'm taking this guy. And he didn't really factor in that much.
You
But
got some points.
You got some violence points.
oh
for
yeah,
that
it was
hammer.
okay. But you really get the scope. Like the Night King, obviously,
He was the number one scorer.
Night
Is
King
gonna
would
be
have
the-
still been
That's how-
available to pick.
That's how Wendy. That's how
Was
Wendy
he?
won this.
Yeah.
Wendy
Yeah.
won because she had the Night King.
So
Good
And number
Night
2
King
was
essentially.
Eric. Overall, number 2 was
Yeah,
Eric.
Barrack was number 2.
So you know that magic
Yeah, Barrack
Yeah.
was a
is
surprise.
huge.
You're
Yeah.
sitting here at the
Right.
beginning of the
Right.
season
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
so our strategy, and this is why we're last maybe, pick people in the opening credits. So that I know
Right.
that's
They're gonna stick around.
if they're in the
It's-
opening credits, they're going to be there. They're going to do stuff, and
Yeah.
maybe it's a lot of little points, but maybe they're going to talk a lot, and there'll be
Yeah.
a joke or two, and I don't know. That was our strategy.
Traditionally, Cersei is very murdery.
Murder, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
she.
But she doesn't do the murders.
Well, I didn't know how the points worked. I thought
Sure,
maybe
I
like,
guess.
fair.
I thought
yeah.
if she sort of sent someone to murder someone for her.
But is she,
But if
she
she
was
nods
to the point.
and the mountain kills somebody, the mountain gets the
I
violence
know.
bonus.
Now I know.
This
but
was
I
our
thought
dodge.
that-
To me, this was our
Yeah.
like.
Some
This
more
was
nodding, Cersei. The mountain didn't even kill a sandwich. It was awful.
This felt like our training year. Like we were with
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Arya
Yeah.
last year,
Preseason.
and
Yeah.
everyone else was Jock and Hagar telling us that we're no good, and here's what you do. And then
Yeah.
next
Wait,
season, next season we're gonna know
We'll be
Right.
better.
that a team has no name
Well,
or
and
something.
it's funny
Pick
because
the
like
bronze
I-
and the Night Kings.
yeah,
The
exactly.
Night King is the Sidney Crosby of.
He's
That's
huge.
right,
huge.
I mean, he's
huge.
the bad guy that does all the killing
That's right.
and does all the magic.
But you know what? Maybe next year, like you pick the Night King, and then suddenly like
He's sitting
not,
around, yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Strategy.
They
But he's
resolve
going
that
to the
conflict
bank.
in the first
Yeah, that's
episode.
right.
He's
That's
got a
it.
bank drama, and
That's
he's
right.
talking to the white
It's all
banker.
Tycho. It's
It's all
crazy
Tycho.
points, Tycho. Yeah.
I mean, my strategy, and this ties into something I want to talk about the episode last night, is like my strategy was very Stark heavy because I love the Starks. I understand that the Starks are highly flawed. This is why I love them. I love them deeply, not as deeply as I love Jorah Mormont. Basically, I like the North. I like Bear Island and I like Winterfell. But I feel like the moment in the episode that I thought was kind of interesting was when Cersei basically says, "Look, I'll do this, but Jon has to not take sides." And I know Jon will do this because his father, Ned Stark, which of course he's not his father, but his father, Ned Stark, would do this. And of course, like, it's Cersei being also, like, such an asshole and being like, remember when your father stood by his word and then I chopped off his head? It's like those moments that are just Cersei moments. But the fact that Jon was like, well, I can't agree to this because I already gave my word to this person and I'm going to stand by it. And while we were watching it, so we were, Matt, myself, Trevor, and Chris were watching it together last night, and I, in my heart, was like, yes, yes, and they were like, Matt was like, here you go.
Stupid Stark.
Stupid Stark. Like, this is going to get everyone into trouble. But there is something about, I thought last night was a great episode for the Starks in the sense that the family bonds and the idea of what it is to be a Stark and the idea of the lone wolf dies, but the pack, the pack lives on, survives,
yeah.
then it's like, that to me was really strong in last night's episode. I think that is the appeal of the Starks. Even Arya, who has, like, really disassociated, was a Stark last night.
What was really rewarding about that Jon Snow moment was it was totally in his character. And
Yeah.
He was making a mistake, but it made sense because this is who you are. You are a stand-up guy, and you can't lie.
And this is exactly the mistake you always make.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And what makes you heroic is now making you... But what's been so frustrating about, like, what's happening in Winterfell is people are acting against that,
totally.
that
They
game
have
that
been.
we've been watching for so long.
Right,
so,
but I think, for the storytelling, knowing the characters so intimately as us fans do, and it felt strange watching that whole journey happening in Winterfell. I think in order for you to have that oh shucks moment on the turn at Littlefinger, I felt like they needed to kind of send you down one path to bring you back the other, because then it would have just been too clear.
It was too obvious by, like, episode 3 that Littlefinger was surrounded by wolves.
Yeah.
And so, because there was never a scene where Littlefinger was with all 3 wolves at once, it was like, oh yeah, maybe he can keep playing them. Maybe he can keep Littlefingering what he does best. And he...
It's a really unfortunate choice of words.
I don't like that verb.
Littlefingering.
Oh no.
And it was wonderful to see him sitting in that little corner, the same spot he was sitting at the end of season 6 when they were declaring the king in the north, the White Wolf.
Yep.
And it's interesting now that we see him as the White Wolf, considering that's the color his hair should be.
Yeah, it's true.
It's kind of neat that he was that Baelish was standing in the same spot.
It's his lean wall.
Yeah,
That's right,
his
yeah,
like
yeah.
smug, smiling,
Yeah.
grinning lean wall.
Yeah.
And it was great to see him finally get nailed to that wall.
And yes, it was Ask Them. I got up and I danced and like was so excited that Baelish was dying in that way.
You haven't been that excited about a death since like Varys.
Viserys.
Viserys or
Since
Joffrey.
Season
Those
1,
were
Viserys, where I danced a jig. But yes, I the other thing I loved about the way that happened and I think was important is Sansa. I think the character development for Sansa in this was important. When she says that line, I am a slow learner, but I learn. And there's something about us doubting Sansa and not knowing what she was going to do that was actually kind of important for us to see who Sansa is becoming. And it was important for Sansa to figure out the problem of who do I trust here? And can I keep Baelish around? And so as much as I did not like what happened last episode, in episode 6, where it was like these weird conversations and code, like they weren't actually speaking to one another, that drove me nuts. But I think it paid off for me.
And I feel like Sansa has been that for the entire series. It's been very just frustrating to watch. I found her very frustrating to watch because it has taken her so long for her to learn.
Yes.
But now she's one of my favorite characters because she has learned, and you've seen that, and it's been very rewarding. What's been frustrating for me with this season, and maybe it's because basically they had this one storyline in Winterfell for 7 episodes.
Yeah, it's true.
And if this took like 3 episodes, maybe it would have been, acceptable. But it's just I never really got the understanding that she was slowly just working it out. I always thought, oh, she just doesn't trust her sister, or this is a weird, relationship, family, squabble or something like that. I couldn't figure out. Oh, if it had been written in a way where you could see her wheels turning a little bit more. Maybe.
I agree. Like, I think they kind of dropped the ball on the pacing of the season and the pacing of the episodes. And I don't know if that's because they were like, okay, this is the way we've divided it. We got to save all these things till season 8. And so I just felt like the rhythm of the show was off this season.
Yeah, and we're not alone in that. Chris, in the comments, is saying that the show completely gave up this season for him.
Some people really feel that way. Yeah.
There were times where I pictured this, where someone was carrying all the scripts for Game of Thrones, but they didn't staple them or number the pages, and then they tripped and they all fell, and then they just picked them up. And they said, none of the scenes on their own were necessarily awful. It was the order and the why is that happening now, and just don't show us them at all this episode, and we'll accept next episode. There was a lot of that where it did feel like an intern was fired or something like that at some point.
Yeah, I feel it's a combo of not having a template from George R. R. Martin, so they have a lot more to juggle and figure out.
And make up on their own. They have to make up a lot
but
on
the
their own.
good material was there.
And they're not as good at it.
Yeah, I think they're better at adapting maybe than they are at creating new stuff there. I don't know, but also I think they're also a little bit done. I think they need a break.
Yeah.
Where they feel, the show feels like it's struggling a little bit. But I was heartened by last night's episode. I felt like it was last night's episode was a return to some of the storytelling that I love from the show. That's how I felt about it.
Well, I mean, anything would have been after how jagged, nonsensical, and just kind of bad episode 6 was.
Yeah, it was not.
Episode 6 was really, really bad. Game of Thrones.
It was weak. It was the weakest I've found it.
Well, I think it was pretty terrible. Just the feeling that I know I was having. I can't speak for everybody, but when we were watching each episode, I was like, wow, it's great. This is good, and I'm buying in.
Yeah,
I'm buying in.
Yeah.
And you can see a lot of it coming a mile away, but I'm in. You got me, and it's happening that fast, and I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
I'm with it. I like that it's because I know there's only X amount of episodes. I want them to be jam packed with cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then that episode happens, and it just felt off.
Yeah.
But then, I thought the last one was definitely redeeming as far as the episode goes, and I think they're gonna get this backlash from the fans. I think they're gonna get.
Yeah.
And look, George R. Martin himself hasn't really been tweeting like, "Great episode this week." He's been tweeting about The Last Kingdom and wearing funny hats and things like that. Like, he has not been championing his own. Well, because it's not really his at this point.
Does he normally?
Yeah, he's been more vocal in the
past. Past, but this season,
there were seasons where he was writing episodes. And he's really sort of taking he's he's getting some distance from this project now, and I do feel like Weiss and Benioff could benefit from some time. I mean, they're supposed to go into production in October. But guys, just take a breather.
Yeah.
Think about your lives. Consider what you did this season. What was great.
Think about your choices. You need a timeout.
Also, what I also think is if they're just responding, this whole season being this fan service season. I think the worst thing they could do is now try to fix. I almost said service the fans. Well, I guess I just said it, but to serve the fans in the final season, because I think that'll turn into a bit of a Frankenstein. I think they should just not read the comments and stay off Twitter.
Do. Frankly, I don't think they.
I don't think they do either.
No.
But
listen. Nobody knows how this is going to end up, but really, George, and he has said in the past. I mean, I don't have the quote in front of me, but he's basically said, it's not. Happiness is not going to win the day. I think this season we got fan serviced.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get Empire next season,
Well,
and it's going to end on Empire.
And
That's
I think,
the Night King.
And to that point,
well, maybe not, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be. They're building it up in a way that you look like you're seeing the end. You're going to see this happily married, maybe John and Danny, and we're on the throne together in a happy kingdom, and they destroy the White Walkers, and when Jaime is now the head of their security and whatever, and
then Varys with a cloak in the corner, and then the credits roll.
But it all looks, it's heading in this direction. I don't think it's going to end there. I don't think we're going to see. It's going to be just lay out the exact way that it seems. just because George has said it in the past, no, it doesn't end the way.
Yeah, he
Well,
doesn't
and
like
he-
the way Lord of the Rings
No,
ends.
he
That's
talks
right.
about he actually there's a quote that on a podcast we listened to that they talked about where he talks about Lord of the Rings and how he loves Lord of the Rings. He talks about how he doesn't like that, when Aragorn finally is like the King of God, or Return of the King happens, and then it's like, well, what happened to all the orcs that were around still, and how did you
Right.
deal with all the things that were messed up in the kingdom after the wars happened?
And what was your tax policy? There's a
what
lot
were
of
your
stuff.
policies,
I don't
how
know.
did you
Well,
run
the movies did a
kingdom?
different
Yeah.
ending too, didn't they? They did do the original book ending.
I think
either.
they did do a slightly
Yeah,
different.
they changed it a bit, but ultimately the book doesn't deal with that either.
No.
Like, is there a systematic genocide of orcs that happens? Are orcs given like refugee status? What happens to all of these orcs and orc babies that
You know,
are
the
just out
low-paying
there?
gigs. They're
Yeah.
all
Yeah. Well, and I
Shoe
Shoe
think,
shining orc.
and again, I think that Tyrion's purpose and Varys, we brought this up earlier, is it's like I think they are there to remind Dany they are there for the realm. Tyrion has a vested interest in the wheel being broken and in a new system, and Varys has a vested interest in the realm surviving all of this. And so I think, I don't think it's not gonna end with the Night King either. It's not gonna end with that battle. It's going to be more than just what happens when the whites come and fight us. It's going to I think go beyond that, I hope.
It's not just
The
this
books will,
mindless
at least.
force of nature.
Maybe the series won't. The books will,
Yeah.
because the series and
Yeah.
the books have really
diverged in
diverged
a lot of
quite a
spots.
bit, right? So it'll be interesting to see.
Now, Patricia Hollinger is asking, what does everyone think of John's real name?
I was just going to bring that up, Patricia Hollinger. Thank you. Aegon Targaryen. Can I say that there's a weird thing going around the internet, because in the books, Rhaegar Targaryen and Elia Martell, his first wife, they had children. They had a daughter and a son, and the son's name was Aegon. And then he dies, and then shortly after that, Jon Snow is born, and Lyanna calls him Aegon Targaryen. So there's all these conversations
That's
about
weird.
is that weird and
It's weird.
insensitive? Is it a
Yeah.
tribute? Like, in the show, we've never heard the name of Elia Martell and Aegon's kids, so maybe they're Rhaegar's kids, so maybe they're never bringing it up. But
And Rhaegar had died by the time that she decided to name that child.
That's right,
It's
yeah.
entirely
Yeah.
possible that Rhaegar never knew that his son is named Aegon.
It's also like such a mythical name in the Targaryen, like
Yeah.
Aegon the Conqueror, right? It's like
It's like all the kids named Alexander.
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
a bunch of Greek boys named Alexander. Yes, you're all named after Alexander
Yeah.
the Great. We
yeah.
get it.
I don't know. What do you guys think of the name?
Well, I'm not. Is it actually Aegon in the books that Jon Snow's name? I don't. Or they haven't. They got.
They
that
haven't
far.
gotten there that far.
They haven't
yet.
got
that
that
book
far.
hasn't been
Hasn't
Yeah,
been
it
written yet,
hasn't been
so
released yet.
I don't think we know yet.
I mean,
but
that part's. Imagine if they went with a different name.
Oh,
whoa!
he's gonna. I mean, I wonder now, like, how much George R. R. Martin is
It's
gonna
like,
take
"Aw, crap,
from
I
the
guess I
show."
better name
Kind
him
of cool
that.
to write Aegon.
I thought
John.
George R. R. Martin.
Aegon Targaryen.
Aegon Targaryen. Yeah.
I feel like that has got to be something that George said to
Takes,
them.
yeah.
And said,
It's gotta be on the bullet
This
points.
is
Yeah.
is his name. Something interesting that I was listening to was how is John going to react to that name, and is he going to accept it? And it goes on to a larger point of he's going to Winterfell now with this queen that he's bent the knee to
And
in several different ways.
But-
And now he's like he's basically turned into a Targaryen. Like he's at worst now he's a Targaryen sympathizer
Yes,
or collaborator.
yes, yeah.
But then they're going to find out he's actually a Targaryen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be very difficult and there's going to be a lot of pressure on Sansa to
Yes.
be
But
that Stark.
That's what that whole speech to Theon was when he said, "You're both this and this."
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and also that's what I liked about. I didn't mean to take us back, but
No, go
that
ahead.
idea where when John did that really valiant thing, even though it was stupid, it also like inspired Jaime a little bit,
Yeah.
inspired
Mhm.
Theon a little
Theon,
bit.
for
So it like
sure.
kind of inspired people, and so he didn't get everyone all at once, but I thought that was cool. And then that's what that whole speech was, because I think we all knew, and I think everyone
Yeah.
knows we all know. So
Mm.
giving advice to somebody that hopefully you'll take yourself someday is
Yeah,
is
to have that precursor of where's your loyalty lie. Oh, you can be both of these things.
Right.
I think that's going to be interesting to see him struggle with that.
You can be a lover and a nephew. You can be a.
You can be a king in the north and
yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah, I think. I mean, I like that they revealed his name. I really loved seeing Rhaegar and Lyanna together. I loved seeing the House Targaryen, House Stark together in that way. I loved Bran coming upon that. There's also a lot of talk about how all the talk of the dragon having 3 heads and the prophecy that Daenerys got in the House of Death. It wasn't called the House of
the
Death.
Undying?
Thank you, House of the Undying. Like, it's not the House of Death. The House of the Undying. But the idea that the baby that they're potentially making in their lovemaking is could be Azor Ahai. Could be the prince that's promised. Could be the 3rd head of that dragon. Like, there's all, now that they're like, the seed has been planted potentially, then there's all kinds of new things that open up. I think it is going to, I agree, David, you said earlier, like, that when Jon finds out that Daenerys is his aunt, that's going to be really tricky for him. I think when Daenerys finds out that Jon is the rightful heir,
has a better claim to the throne.
Politically, like, this is going to explode. Like, this is a bomb that it means there's so many repercussions to this information.
Because Daenerys was so hell-bent on him bending the knee to her based on her claim to the throne.
Yeah.
When she finds out that her claim is bettered by his, will she take her own advice and bend the knee to him? Because ultimately,
you know what? They should just get married.
But that's
make it
Jon's
official.
MO,
It's an
though.
alliance.
Yeah.
If we've learned one thing from Jon Snow, he doesn't want any of this stuff.
It's
so
true.
When he finds, P.S., I'm the rightful king, he's going to be like, nah, girl, it's you. Well, I'm good. Like,
except, I agree with you, Chris. Like, that's how I've been feeling. Except for, I feel like the one thing Jon does respond to is like lineage and what he owes his family. And if he gets to feeling that he owes his father and Lyanna, his mother, like if he finds a sense of purpose in his lineage, that might shift how he feels about it. I don't know how much, but I feel like there is something in Jon that he feels a kind of legacy. Certainly he did with Ned Stark, but I don't know if he'll still feel that.
Sure, I can't disagree with that, but I think the one thing that I've always gotten from Jon is his legacy is that he's a part of the North. And that the North is what he's all about.
With 6 episodes, I can't see him embracing his Targaryenism in a very organic way.
Well,
Like, he comes with like a bleach blonde hair. It's like, Jon,
it's just blonde
Jon's
streak.
too far. We know what you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
It's also something that Beric Dondarrion said to him on that nice little walk they were having of the wall.
That's what this season has been reduced to. That nice little walk. A lot of nice little walks.
On episode 6?
Yes. And he said, you and I, because they had so much in common, dying and coming back to life, you and I aren't going to have a lot of joy in this world, but all we have left is, to make sure that people are safe and save people's lives. And it's almost like he's on borrowed time, right? I think, and Jon's always felt that it's like, I'm not meant to be here. So I've got a job to do. And what does that mean in terms of like, like when this is all over, when the Great War is all over, does he just die? Or what if Melisandre dies? Does it work like the White Walkers, where it's like the person who saved you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
And does the Lord of Light just decide, well, I'm glad I gave him that extra life, he's done what he needed, and drops dead?
Well, yeah, because we don't know very much about how the Lord of Light actually works inside of
Mysterious ways, I
It'd
bet.
be very
Yeah.
Tolkien-ish too. Like it's like, oh, the war's over. Get on the boat and go to
Into the West.
yeah.
Now, on the topic of this knowledge of Aegon Targaryen's claim to the throne, Angie and Lynn are all in agreement that the funniest part of the episode was between Sam and Weirdo Bran.
Yeah.
And just that moment where Sam is wrapping his head around how kooky this whole three-eyed raven, you can see everything, okay, is that how you know this information? And Bran just holds up the raven.
Right.
And he's like, this. It was just like such a thug life moment.
It was like
amazing.
it was like one of those movies where it's like your first day of university and you walk in your dorm room and it's like, who's here? Oh my god, he's for
You're my roommate.
You're crazy.
I think the thing, I thought that conversation was a little bit strange, but I love Brad. I feel like I am the person in this league and in the world who loves the people that other people do not like anymore or have no time for. I love Jorah Mormont and I love Bran.
Okay, but who doesn't love Jorah?
Yeah, there are a lot of people who love
A
Mama.
lot of
He's
people
dreamy.
don't get my my deep abiding love for him. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
Jorah Mormont can take an ice javelin any day and I'd be fine. As long as he's protecting Dany, I'm done with him.
He's done with Jorah.
He's had his wonderful, he's back, yay.
I love
Now
him.
just bodyguard Dany once and you're done.
But I mean, Bran for me, so much is gonna. I think so much will keep coming down to Bran, and I think we're not clear on the parameters of his magic, or like how, like we were saying, this encyclopedia thing, like where he's got to go, his Encyclopedia Britannica brain, where he has to like funnel through. It's like, I want them to spend a bit more time helping us get into Bran's head a bit more. I like it when he sees flashbacks. I like it when we see his magic happening actively, because otherwise, yeah, he's just sort of strange and sort of forced. It feels a bit contrived.
It's hard too when you've got these main characters like the Night King and Bran who have no personalities, really. They're just kind of like devices, really. They've turned into basically devices, and it's like, you know, it would be interesting to maybe see some backstory, or maybe he loses control of his emotions, or, you know, I don't know. Something.
Well, and it's sad that the White Walkers don't speak.
Well, because in the book they speak. I think that they speak like they sound like ice cracking. Like there's a really cool way that it's described in the book.
That's cool.
But the thing is in the show, because the White Walkers and the Night King, because they don't speak, they've had to sort of not be the villains that I think that maybe they were set out to be in the first place, because there's only so much you can do with that.
With a silent bad guy.
Yeah.
Do we know what they want, or why?
We're still
Like,
finding
what
that
are their
out.
motives? Is that in
Because
the
they don't
book?
want a throne, right? That's not a thing, a White Walker. They don't want to sit on a throne.
No.
He's not gonna after all this go, got
yes.
it.
Ah,
Nice.
finally.
Like,
Like, and that's it. And they're all like, he's sitting on
They're
a...
all like, you just stay there and relax.
That's good. He's like,
Yeah.
God, that was great.
It's cold around here.
Yeah.
It was my
Give me some
understanding
wine.
the children
Yes.
invented them
Yes.
to defeat the first men, right?
That's right, yeah.
So they're
Right.
basically just a weapon. They're kind of like a...
Okay.
But they're a weapon that has now they feel threatened, so now they are trying to destroy.
But what
Like,
are they
I feel like-
threatened
Or they
by?
only have one program, and it's kill humans.
No, I don't think that they're robots like that. I think the Night King is more interesting than that. There's all these theories that he was a Stark. There are, of course, theories that Bran is also the Night King. I
Yeah.
find that a very difficult thing to grasp onto. Maybe with more information, I'll start to believe that
Because
theory.
Bran has so far been able to exist at different times in a tiny little way, getting into someone's brain or almost being heard by someone. He's been able to go back in time, but not stay there. His body is still physically at the tree.
Right.
And so the idea that he goes back in time and actually exists there, and then his legs work, like there's a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense there.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
Well, but
there's a
it-
lot where he goes back in time and he causes something to happen, and there's an impact that carries through to the
Right.
present.
Yeah, that's been. I mean, the Hodor thing was is the
Yeah,
biggest
that's
example
where it
of that.
shows us that. Yeah.
But there's a lot of theories around that, and the fact that his proximity to the action that was happening is why he was able to manipulate things in the past, and that might not be a thing he can do on a regular basis.
That he could only do it in Winterfell.
His proximity to Hodor in that moment allowed, and the fact that he was watching the past, the space time continuum of that, like his ability
But
to
the
like,
flux capacity.
yeah,
didn't
exactly.
Didn't he warg into Hodor by accident in the past?
Like, that's the thing, is there's a lot of different theories around why he was able to do that then, and why
Right.
that doesn't seem to be something that he does on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, because he had once warged into present Hodor.
Yes.
Right.
Which means
But-
that's
yeah.
a place he could get back to, and if you can get back to there, maybe you can get back to there in another time.
Right.
I
I don't know.
guess that's the problem. Like for me, I'm someone who doesn't love when Bran's on the screen.
I
We've
know.
talked about
We've
this.
talked about this a
Yeah,
lot,
and
yes.
it's not because I don't like him and his personality is not great, but like I don't get it. I
He's
don't.
a magical entity.
But
He's
I
not a
need
human
like
anymore.
magic still needs its own little thing. Like some of the other magic, I get the flaming sword and the.
Although
Even
even
though they screwed up the flaming
I still
sword.
get it though. Like you have a thing and it that
You
makes
get it? You
Yeah.
understand how suddenly Beric Dondarrion just goes like this,
I get
and
that
the
more than.
sword is on
but it's
fire.
I get it
so
more than
different.
whatever Brand's
But
doing.
it's so different than the way it was
Accept
introduced.
it. I accept it
Wait.
more than what Brand's
Yeah,
doing.
the
I don't get it.
The
It's like-
flaming sword was introduced as something that needed to be chanted over.
Yeah, like a ritual.
It was a whole ritual.
and then they had it
by
ready,
the-
warmed
like
up.
a special thing.
It's like-
Director
Yeah.
Darian's just like, now I just like.
I chanted over this thing off screen, and now I'm just ready
yeah,
to go.
yeah.
But Bran is like, why did you tell? I know, I get the book theory is interesting, but like, why are you telling people things at this pace that the writers seem to want, as opposed to the pace that would make the people you
Yes.
maybe still love while you're still part Bran, maybe still helps them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
hey Sansa, Littlefinger's doing all this, like killed our aunt. Like, tell me that a couple
Well,
weeks ago.
but here's the thing: is like I think either. So there's two things at play. Either or. Like sorry, no, either and. So I feel like part of it is that he's still figuring out things and he doesn't
That's true.
have the information at the ready, or he is choosing when to tell people the information because that's also part of the plan.
Bran has his own
The
plan.
thing
I
is,
know.
though, what I agree with in your
Sorry.
statement, David, but what I agree with is that because of the way they're executing the episodes, it feels like we're watching the writers work
That's
as
right.
opposed
That's
to
right.
we're watching the story unfold.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is I think there's truth to that.
Yeah.
Like they haven't really figured out the pacing and the rhythm of letting us and when to let us in on a conversation
right.
and when not to let us in on a
If
conversation.
episode 6 didn't suck so bad, we might not be noticing other things in this season that we're like, oh, maybe that's bad too. Oh, maybe that
Yeah.
was bad. And I feel like we're starting to see, like you said, the writers working because they were so obviously working in episode 6 to make implausible, dumb things happen.
Yeah.
And at the end of 7, like the voiceover of who Jon Snow really is.
The
I mean,
Bran.
that's them going, okay, it's time. Sam, walk in, ask a question, and here we go. So that's just why. So for me, it's not Bran himself. It's the rules surrounding Bran, and if he's figuring it out, then that would be good to know too.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
agree. I agree. We
That's-
need more information.
I still feel like, I know this season was kind of unique, and a lot of things happen quickly. But when you watch a lot of Game of Thrones, everything is said for a reason. A lot of these nuggets that feel like throwaways are there. And if you go back and watch season 1, season 2, you're like, now things, these little nuggets mean
Right.
so much
Yeah.
more.
Absolutely.
So all of this weird brand time continuum stuff, I feel like there's some brand loose ends that I'm hoping
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
get
me too.
there's some kind of payoff in the last season.
Me too.
Yeah, well, Paul Moriosis is expecting Bran to whack the Night King, in his words. I'd like to see
I'm into that.
go down that way. Yeah, I feel like Bran taking out the Night King would be pretty fair.
Would be fantastic.
Warg his dragon out from under him.
Well, there's gonna
Right.
have to be
Oh, yeah.
some kind of like those two entities really
gonna
have
have
to
to start
face off
working.
in a more deliberate way.
yeah, they're certainly being set up as antagonists
Yes.
from the last couple of seasons.
For
so,
sure.
Yeah.
Let's you brought up Theon. I just want to touch on Theon.
Yeah, Patricia Hollinger is saying, do you think Theon will rescue Yara and they
I do.
kill Euron and take over the fleet and help kill the Walkers?
No, I think that he will try to save Yara. I think my hope is that he successfully saves Yara, but he dies. That in his attempts to rescue his sister, he does, but that he forfeits his life. That's because I think that Theon. That would for me be a real journey for Theon. I don't know that they both make it out alive. That seems sort of implausible to me.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that, but it seems implausible.
And I think he's also kind of like John. He's this broken person
Yeah.
who it's like you're here for one reason, and then once that reason's done,
You're done.
you're done. Yeah. Yeah. And so I kind of feel like because there's no happy ending
For Theon?
for Reek. Yeah.
I gotta say, like I said last night during the episode, I'm like, because I got really emotional about that conversation with him and John, and then that showdown with Harrig on the beach there. I feel like if you had told me in almost any season that I would care that much about Theon, I would have laughed in your face. Like, I hated Theon. Like, as Matt and I watched the first couple seasons, I was like, this character drives me crazy.
And I remember any moment where Ramsay and Theon were on screen together, you were like, fast
I was
forward
like,
this.
I
am
can't
not
watch it.
interested.
I cannot watch these people. I was
But
like,
we did, and now it's
so
all
mad.
paid off.
I feel like they're doing some really, and I was sort of I wasn't so sure with Theon this season after he like jumped into the water and didn't help Yara. And I was like, oh
When he
God,
reeked
are
out?
we just,
Yeah.
when he reeked out, I was like, are we just going to have this beat again? But I think they're actually doing a nice job. Like, I feel like what he did in last night's episode was quite poignant and really great.
And I think him spending time with Yara wasn't going to fix him. Spending time with his actual family that he was raised with, seeing John say, I forgive you, that is him actually getting that closure, coming to a place where he can do something. Because Yara's a great influence on Theon, but Yara isn't his sister the way that the Starks are his brothers and sisters.
It's true.
And so I feel like that was the resonant moment that we got.
Can I also say, like, I liked, there's a lot of criticism about, like, the whole kicking him in the balls and it not working. I liked that, like, his weakness or the thing that he was, that made him an outcast, or the abuse that happened became
A superpower.
This thing where he could
Yeah.
find strength in it. It's a little bit cheeseball, like, and a little bit over the top in that scene, but I'm into it.
It was also a callback to the Cox conversation.
Yes.
That
It all comes back
right
to
down
Cox.
to Cox. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It was a little. Yeah, it was a little on the
It was
nose.
a little on the
That
nose.
fight was a little rocky. Yeah.
on the balls,
Yeah.
but I was,
So, guys,
No, yeah,
do you,
Trevor. Oh, sorry.
I was going
Oh.
to say, do you guys want to talk about the very last scene?
Actually,
Yes,
that's what I want to go
great.
back to.
That's where
Awesome.
we're going. Yeah.
Yeah, so we finally get to see dead dragon flying. And we had some questions last week
Yeah.
about whether Viserion was going to become a White Walker or a White. And will he be an undead dragon, or will he be an ice dragon who is as powerful as the White Walkers are compared to the Whites? And I think the evidence of his, like, tattered, leathery wings decomposing, he's basically like the dead horses. He's just a dead flying horse. He's mindless, I think.
Yeah.
So he won't recognize Daenerys. He has no
No, I don't
he has
think
no
so.
free will of his own, I don't think.
How do you guys feel about the way that the wall came down?
It was a little bit strange for me.
It was like an 80s video game.
Yes!
It's like, dude, just shoot the wall for 10 minutes with the fire dragon,
Yeah.
and it'll come down. It was like, really? This is it? And there were so many theories about, they're going to blow this horn, or like some kind of magic, or he's going to fly over it, and that's going to break the spell. It just felt to me like, this is just...
sheer hit points.
Yeah,
until it's
literally.
gone.
Yeah, it literally felt like that. And
It looked
just
like a
kinda
Ghostbusters ray gun for a little bit. I was thinking of seeing that. So
yeah.
What was better than him walking around it, which was a lot of the
yeah.
Oh my
scuttlebutt.
God,
Oh,
that
do
was
you
so
see
terrible.
the opening credits?
Yeah.
The water's frozen. They're just gonna.
They're just going to sneak
walk
around it. Yeah.
sneak walk.
Yeah, it always
That
kind of
would've
seemed
been
like an
Why
obvious
is it
choice.
fire? You
Or
know?
is it?
Or is it fire? Because
Well,
it's
we
not-
were talking about what a few episodes ago.
Mhm.
We were like, what is this ice dragon gonna breathe? Is it gonna be like a frosty breath that will turn them into walkers or freeze things or
Breathe
whatever?
winter was
Blue.
another
I mean,
question.
Breathe
there's like
winter.
blue fire, like the
Yeah,
the
but
blue
like
part of fire.
for that ice dragon to be able to breathe something that melts the ice wall. I mean, I don't really know what the wall is made of now that I think about it, but
It seems like
See,
it's made of ice.
it's like-
Ice.
it's
But
made
and
of
scaffolding,
ice.
perhaps, right? Like
Yeah.
some wood.
And then
Yeah,
the
scaffolding
fire
and
that the
ice.
ice
Rebar,
dragon is
keep
breathing
it all
is
up.
burning it down. Like, it seems like that doesn't seem consistent.
What did you
with
want the
powers
dragon
that
to-
The dragon should have.
What did you want?
An
to do?
ice dragon should be breathing like really cold
stuff.
winter
Yeah.
icicles.
I like that.
Should have
too.
built
I
up
think
that
that
wall
it's like-
another 100 feet.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
wall just kept getting
right?
bigger, and it's like
I
this
know,
was a
yeah.
bad idea.
Yeah.
Stop breathing.
Or just build like a ramp.
Yeah, actually, it should
Well,
have
we
been
were
really
joking-
red. It's a great idea.
Trevor and I were joking about, like, Barrack and Torment, because we don't see them if they've survived or not. We figured
And
that
nobody
they do.
got points for the death of those
No,
No,
so,
they did not.
No, so chances are they're alive, but we were like, maybe there's like a luge or like a slide where they were
Escape
like,
luge.
oh
Yeah.
no, they're coming, and they just go down this like ice slide.
It's gonna be that scene that happens in almost all movies where you see a hand come over the cliff, and then another hand, and then they both pull themselves up, and it's like, oh, they didn't die.
This show has done so many of those
Yeah.
like pulling up out of the.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
Tormund even had his own scene like that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
right.
Well,
Didn't you need the action though? Like, would you have been satisfied
If
if
they just
all those
walked
guys
into it?
walked out,
Yeah.
the dragon showed up, and the dragon froze the lake, and then everybody walked
Oh
around.
god, that
But you
would have been
like,
yeah.
would have been like, wow, that's awesome. No, you'd been like,
Well, Lynn
lame.
is saying maybe it was like dry ice fire. It seemed like the wall shattered more than melted.
Oh,
Yeah, I
it's
think-
colder than snow.
I feel like it's
It's
like
super
frostbite. Like if
It's
the
like-
dragon breathed on you, it's like it would burn you in the way that you get burned by frostbite. So
Mm.
it's not fire. It's like
Ice pellets,
I-
like angry hail
no,
breath.
like if you
Not convinced.
when your skin gets so cold,
Like dry
that
ice.
it's-
Yeah.
yeah, like
if
dry,
you,
like yeah.
like T1000.
But there
Yeah.
was there were explode.
It was luminous.
Was it only 24 hours ago? Yeah, but it feels like there was explosions.
It did
and
feel.
stuff,
It
right?
did
It was
feel
very
like
explosive.
very.
It seemed like
Yeah.
that had the
It
qualities
behaved like fire.
Of some
He
kind
was
of.
an
I thought it was
inside
really
job.
cool though. I almost didn't
No.
care what it was. I almost didn't
My
care.
conspiracy is like
Was
maybe
it-
it was an inside job.
Oh,
Maybe
that there
they
was-
planted explosives.
Oh no!
I thought it looked cool. I just wanted more. I think of either a battle, but like so that Tormund would have to, and the wildlings would have to fight these guys,
yeah.
Right,
and see a fight there, or something that I wasn't expecting, or they found that horn.
Some kind of magic.
Yeah, like something that
Yeah.
something that was prophesized, and something like that. I mean, I guess the whole point of that entire sixth episode exercise was for him to get a good dragon
Yep.
Yeah.
to breathe on the on the wall, but yeah, I just kind of felt like I wanted something more.
It was. I do feel like they're not so exciting as they used to be. The Whites and the White Walkers. When the White Walkers and the Whites used to show up,
Because they've
it
been
was
strolling
just
for
so
years.
magical and crazy and surprising, and
You
it
can't
hasn't-
get away with that over and over
Yeah,
and
it
over again. Diminishing returns on just there they are again.
So is there something to be said about the Night King's ability to see some kind of future or
Yeah,
something, like
for
he
sure.
knew that this dragon was coming,
I think the
that they
whole,
couldn't get across the wall until this dragon came,
Mm.
blah blah blah.
I think it's all part of his plan.
because
Yeah.
otherwise they're literally walking.
We just
in
walked.
circles.
We were close at one point, and then we said well, the dragon hasn't come, so they went back around.
Yeah, like this-
Yeah, well,
like
Pat,
chilling
Hollinger,
time.
Pat
Yeah.
Hollinger is saying if they didn't have a dragon, how were they going to get through that wall?
Well, that's
what
the
was their
thing.
other
They
plan?
could've
Yeah.
Right,
around.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
yeah.
think I think all of episode 6 when they get stranded in the middle and the Night King is just watching them, it's all a strategy. He is waiting for that
Yeah.
dragon to show up. He's prepared. He needs that dragon. The question now becomes, how prepared is he for the next stage of things? Like, what are his other plans?
Although they were walking,
How much does he know?
They were walking to the eastern end of the wall already.
Yeah.
So maybe they were just planning on walking around the wall, and they're like, "Dude, dragon."
Let's show them
Let's
what we
do
got.
Well,
this.
that
I
doesn't
read-
explain
they
why
weren't
they waited.
they weren't strolling. No, not at all. That was just dumb writing, and episode 6 was full of dumb writing. So was it on purpose, or was it just
I don't know.
another piece of dumb writing? It's kind of hard to say. If they were strolling directly for the middle of the wall,
Right.
and then they got a dragon, it would have been like, oh, they needed the dragon. But they were going to the spot where if they wanted to, they could single file friggin' crawl around the side of the wall.
Right.
That's
I
where they
think
were
the
walking
Night
to.
King was ready. I did read something that had some screenshots from the episode, and the Night King and his White Walkers had 3 special dragon spears.
Yeah. I think it was a
They
plan.
were ready. There
So
were
maybe
3 of
time
them.
is really kind to episode 6. Maybe even though right now in the
Yeah.
present we're like, oh, but maybe time is very
Yeah,
kind and
maybe-
says, you know what, without 6 we wouldn't add anything else.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, time will tell. If
That's-
yeah,
I'm just-
So
I think so.
but we've seen those spears before. Those spears. That's
We
not
have.
the first time we've seen those spears. So is it a thing? Like they've just been waiting around
Right.
with
Dragon
these
spears?
spears
Where did we see
for
the
years?
spears before?
You've
In
seen the
past
whites
seasons.
walking with
Oh,
them
okay.
in
Yeah.
past seasons. So is that just the thing? Like this Night King knows that one day
Dragons
this
are showing up.
it's coming.
We can,
We
yeah.
got our little. And we're ready
Yeah.
to go because they've had these things for so
Well,
Well,
long.
like
Finally,
David said,
finally.
maybe there'll be a time in season 8 where we find out that the Night King does have foresight and is able to see all of these things. And we're like, oh, that's how season 6 bad writing is explained. Or
Right.
episode 6 in season 7. Maybe you could be totally right. Or maybe in 6 episodes they don't have time.
I don't know. I'm thinking about that season of Roseanne that was all not a real
Right.
season, or
Yeah.
Dallas, or
Yeah,
I'm trying
right.
because I'm trying to
Christine
trying to
Esmeralda.
find a way that we go 6. That was that. Now I know something I didn't know.
I know. I'm hopeful too that
Yeah,
there
we're-
was a plan in there,
Right.
and that
Yeah.
we look back on it and go, yeah, but it served this. So
And then we just feel like.
Do you
Yeah.
think maybe it had? I mean, listen, I this is way off, but
go for it.
do you think it has something to do with the fact that Bran crossed through the wall?
Yes, I do think it has to
Because
do
the
with
Three-Eyed Raven stayed north of the wall.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's where he was. And so now all of a sudden, and there's a connection between the Night King, you know, and the Three-Eyed Raven, the
Yep.
Children of the Forest. And then all of a sudden, Bran crosses the wall, and
Yep.
now all of a sudden, maybe now there is an outlet to see or know that there's dragons or what have you. Look, it's total speculation. I
No, I think you're
anything.
Yeah, I think you're
But
right.
something about because there's magic on this wall,
Yep.
right? The whole thing is
Well, and the
not
only
just
re-
all wall and
It's not just
rebar.
a big wall.
Well,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
wouldn't have been able to cross under it, even if it's been even if the structure is destroyed. I think they still needed like Bran and the Night King touching and Bran going past. Like all of that has significance to
Well,
them
then
passing through.
The fact that Benjen was like, well, I can't go south of the wall.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why don't you walk 2 feet in front of me, Bran, and then I can.
But Benjen, nothing with Benjen made sense.
No.
Yeah, no.
Benjen
wasn't good at making sense.
No.
He got some points though for us.
Yeah. I want to say that we didn't say, I just want to go back for a second, and I want to say that Aidan Gillen as Baelish, we need to give that guy props. His
great.
acting,
What a
the
beautiful
whole,
scene.
Aidan Gillen is a fantastic actor, but that scene, the begging,
Oh god.
the
Yeah.
that
going
was
from
really
like
good.
challenging Jan Royce to begging to like trying to still be crafty. I just want to say that's a tour de force performance in that scene. So Aidan Gillen,
Good
here's
work.
to you.
Cheers.
Emmy nomination.
Yeah, hopefully Arya steals your face and we get to see you
Yeah,
act.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
come to that. Let's talk about
What
that's the whole
Arya
theory.
steals
Yeah.
Let's talk about what we think. What like maybe everyone can say like what they hope their biggest hope for next season.
Yeah, season 8,
Their
guys.
biggest hope.
Let's start at the bottom. What do you guys think is gonna happen?
Oh,
Or what do you want to happen, even if you don't? It's not what you think.
Yeah, what'd make you happy?
Yeah.
I mean, I did enjoy seeing Jon Snow's
Behind.
Side butt.
side butt, the upper shoulders. Really
That's all you
really
want
good.
for Game of Thrones season. His-
I want a little bit of that. You know, I feel like Dany's gonna get pregnant, so that'll be interesting. Cersei has to die, so I wonder how that will happen. You know, I'm a big fan of Arya, so I want to know what happens with her and her murdery ways, and I want her to steal more faces because I think that's fun.
So cool, yeah. It's terrifying and cool.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
think
cool,
we need
that's
to
great.
learn more about Bran and the Night King and sort of the backstory there and the motivations, because right now it's not super interesting to me, and I think it should be more interesting because it seems like it's the real story. So I hope we find out more about that.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron.
My underdog pick. I kind of want like to figure out. I kind of want to see Jaime thrust the sword into Cersei's belly.
Oh, yeah.
That Cersei. I've already said it, but like, I know that's kind of violent, but also it's his sword of destiny, and then I think he will probably not make it out of the series because I don't know that he's gonna be able to live with. I don't think he'll live with that. So I think that's what I want to see at the end. Not because I don't. I think Cersei's an amazing character, and we did draft her first in our round, and I've loved watching her this year. But I kind of want him. That feels like it's been happening since episode 1. So
Yeah.
even though I don't, I'm not craving it. I think that's what I want to see. Jaime have one more little beat and one more interesting thing happen. Just and now I'm into thinking about what secondary characters do. So that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, I'm second last. So what I'd like to see is the twins where Walder Frey used to live. I want to see the shape of Westeros come into play from a strategic standpoint.
Yes.
Because the North is so big and so vulnerable. I expect it will get overrun by the White Walkers real fast.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the last stand between the living and the dead will happen at the twins because it's the choke point in the shape of Westeros. And that's the only spot that all of the 100,000 numbers count for nothing. If you can line up your soldiers head to head with the Night King soldiers, you can drag and glass them all down. I think
Yeah,
the
but if
twins
the
are
water's
going to be huge.
frozen, right? Then that's kind of.
Then you're a little boned.
Just have to keep unfreezing the water. Why
Yeah.
do they think
I'm
of
dragging
that?
on each side,
Yeah,
blowing out that
that's right.
water.
Yeah,
You see that?
use those
That's
Keep
a
it
tip. That's
steamy.
water tip.
That's right, yeah,
Next
that's all right.
steamy. All right.
Get
See you at the
Henry's
twins.
hammer
All
right
right.
there.
You want a little neck action there?
Yeah, I want to
all
see
right.
necking.
Okay. Trevor?
Trevor.
A couple things. I want to see ice spiders because Old Nan promised us ice spiders, spiders as big as bears or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, you can't say something like that and not show us
Old
ice
man,
spiders.
yeah.
Like,
10 years
Yeah.
and
later.
everything she said has come true so
It's
far.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man knows what's up.
Yeah, I want to see that. I think obviously I want to see Clegane Bowl.
Right.
Or whatever that ends up being. Something, and this is a bit of a weird turnoff, but so she's got this. Arya has got this bag of faces.
Yes.
Yeah,
But-
she does.
But she's got like Walder Frey's face. She can't use Walder
Right.
Frey's face. It's not like you walk around
Yeah, 'cause
being
he's,
this
he's dead now.
famous guy
We know
who
he's
just
dead.
died.
Yeah.
Is he
And
that famous though? Depending
Well,
on where she
pretty
is.
Walder
famous.
Frey's
It might
pretty
be
huge.
useful to have like an old man face.
You
At
can
some
stroll
point.
into
No,
Hogwarts.
he's too
and be
famous.
I guess I mean
Yeah,
I
well,
guess
yeah.
it's like that nobody knows what anybody really looks like, but at the same
Yeah.
time it's I don't know. It'd be nice to see that actor again.
I mean, what do you do with that face when you're done with it, though?
What
Is there like a place where you
Chuck it in the
recycle
face
it?
bin.
Yeah.
I guess not. But then now they're just trophies, right?
Yeah.
As opposed, and
Yeah,
that's a
well,
little
she
bit
is a
more
serial
creepy.
killer,
She is,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
She is a
Now,
serial.
Angie Brock wants to see Cersei's baby be a dwarf.
Oh.
Oh,
That'd be a
that would
burn.
be
a
a
sick
never-
burn.
Well, I want to say this about
That's a
incest just
good
for a
one.
minute. I just want to say this about incest is that I don't have a problem with like the fact that the only issue I have around the incest is the fact that it's not great for the offspring. But otherwise, if you want to have sex with your nephew, like if they find out,
If you're age appropriate.
yeah,
I think
if it's
it's
age
less
appropriate,
bad than brother and sister.
it is. Yeah, I think
Also,
it
I think the Targaryens, they have to keep the special dragon touch. They need to keep that magic
Yeah.
pure.
That
It's
is
like
Got a
a
this,
little,
you
a
know,
little bit of extra
You have
Stark in
to-
there, you're good.
he has a little bit of Stark, so I think their offspring will be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it'll be fine. Yeah.
I think another thing I'm interested in seeing
Fair
too is I hope they save enough time for the end of the war and what
Yes.
happens.
I do too.
And what do you do with all these Dothraki now? They're
Right.
just wandering around. And what do the Unsullied do now? Are they just like the police? And
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so
Your gold cloaks.
yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. But I'm very curious about that part of the story.
Yes,
as well.
yeah. Yeah, me too.
If we get that far.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
All right,
which
Bonda?
one of us wants to go? Bonda,
I'll
you
go.
wanna
I'll
Okay.
go. I'd like to see Podrick do something heroic
Yeah,
Yeah.
With his magic dick.
with something with his that
Pod. He does. He has like a
That
magic
magic
dick.
crazy
dick.
dick.
Magic dick.
He has a magic dick.
Yeah.
Something like what Trevor was saying. I'd like to see. You've just had, I guess, all the Freys are dead.
Mhm.
All the Sands, like all the leadership in Dorne are dead.
Mhm.
There is no Highgarden anymore. It's
Nope.
kind of what happens. I'd like to see.
The wheel is breaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to see how what world is going to
Mm.
emerge from the ashes. And I think a part of that. Here's a prediction. Don't know anything.
All right.
Okay,
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, Dany on Drogon is gonna has to kill the Night King on his dragon. Basically, I think she's gonna sacrifice herself to win the war,
Wow.
and
Yeah, I
Jon will
can
be
see that.
left
Yeah.
either with maybe this random baby, or by himself, or maybe baby was in
Not
tow.
a random baby.
Rando.
You know, that's random.
Rando Targaryen.
That's what it is.
And-
Rando Targaryen.
and because and I always felt like it was really cool when they established it right from like seeing episode 1 is this kind of this kinship between Tyrion and Jon, and I feel like they're on the same
Yeah.
page. I think Jon, well, you're the king now. I don't want to be king. You're my hand. Tyrion's this guy, and this is where this whole democratic opportunity.
You're the Prime Minister.
Let's
Yeah.
let's
Yeah, I like
fulfill
that. The
her
parliamentary
vision
system.
and
Yeah.
break the wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's what I
compelling.
see happening.
That's very compelling.
And
On
there's
the
no more
record,
dragons.
very good.
Like all the dragons die. in
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
That's
So it resets the world. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, but could the incest baby like give birth to dragons?
I don't know.
know.
Is there enough
Okay, so-
Targaryen in
Need
there?
eggs.
To that point,
I don't
my
know, maybe.
my hope for this, like I agree with that. I would love to see what is the model if we're not using the wheel. If once you break the wheel, then what happens to all these people who need leadership and need infrastructure and all the boring parts of government?
Tax policies.
That
tax
Cersei's not
policies.
doing it all.
You know, like but those are the things that allow people to exist, right? So I'm very interested in that. Because I love magic so much, and that's why I chose so many of the people I did. I chose Melisandre in my draft. I chose Bran. I chose Qyburn. Like for me, I'm very interested in how the religions of Westeros get resolved, because you have these different factions. You have the Lord of Light, you have the Old Gods, you have the New, and they're all part of that wheel as well. Now we've seen like the Sept get blown up and the High Sparrow and that all sort of go by the wayside. But I'm interested in seeing how all of these prophecies around the Lord of Light, like how does that get resolved, and how do all these people who have these different beliefs coexist again without that becoming a reason to go to war? Because, you know, like these people, Beric Dondarrion and Jon coming back to life, like this is all the Lord of Light. We don't know much about him, and we don't know much about the magical entities that exist, and I don't think they're going to go by the wayside once the Great War is done. So I wanna see how those all get resolved. I'm very curious about that.
Cool.
I love magic.
Well, I think that's going to make for a neat 8th season if we're all right.
If we're all right.
2019?
Yeah, 2019.
Seems like it.
Yes.
Yeah, it might be late 2018, could be early 2019. I would rather have it be 2019 and it be good than have it be 2018 and have episodes like number 6
Yeah.
in season 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, take your time, guys. Do it right.
Yeah.
Did Wendy say what she would want?
No, Wendy hasn't chimed in on what she wants, but I imagine she will.
Her,
So,
her
yeah,
same
Wendy,
team, probably,
Wendy-
Yeah,
to draft her.
Yeah.
draft that
Well,
team.
the funny thing is, Wendy is in multiple leagues. So, like,
Oh, wow.
there was one day when the week that she ended up on top of our league, she had gone to the bottom of the other league she was
Wow.
in. And then the person in that other league had all of the Brothers Without Banners, had everyone who was in the North, so they just won like crazy that week. Kind of like
What happened
like
with
Chris
Bondo?
Bond did.
Yeah.
I told you, Olenna Tyrell, man, sunk me.
No, you.
She's an amazing character.
I'm just saying, if I had my team plus one more first round talent,
Yeah,
Like a
you
Lannister.
you would have gotten
You
up
know?
there.
No Lannisters. Don't do it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If there was anything about the scoring that that we had to play with that you could change or add, what would you guys add?
I like that there's a maximum amount of violence points you can get in an episode, so that you can't like wipe out a whole town, like a million people in one city, and then all of a sudden have more points than you could possibly catch up with. I feel like all of the high scoring capabilities, like magic, all of those things should have a maximum per episode.
Yeah.
So that every episode gives you like a chance to do well, but not to just smoke everybody.
Yeah.
What about a point for every second your character is just on screen?
You don't
Just-
you don't get points
Just
for just
there they
being
are, there they are. Because that's we would have finished maybe not first, but
Yeah.
a little.
I said this already to you guys, but I think that Cersei having the Iron Throne at the end of this
Right.
season
Hold-
Should be
is
worth
an
points.
achievement.
I think that's a
And
good
I
idea.
think, there were points for taking the Iron Throne, but there should be points for holding on to it too.
I don't know. It's
And that's
her
like
hold
200
on it is
points.
tenuous
I
at
agree.
best.
I agree.
She's still on it. She's on it. So
I
think
do agree with
that's
that.
like
I agree with that.
I
something
don't.
would maybe
Yeah.
I
winning.
don't know,
Yeah.
because she was
No.
sitting on it at the
Yeah.
beginning of the season. So.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's like you got this handicap already. She's got it.
Yeah, you kind
Got
of
it.
get.
Yeah,
the thing
disagree.
about picking Cersei is that she can't get those 200 points.
Yeah.
But it's
Because
harder to
she-
hold a slippery fish than to catch a slippery fish.
I don't know about that.
I was fishing this weekend.
You get points for that turn of phrase,
Thank
but
you,
I don't
thank you.
I don't know if I agree.
It's an old saying, an old.
Well,
I
direct-
think there should be more points for witty.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah, I
whoever's
agree.
judging
It's
like
the
the
fun- that's
level
the
of
funnest
wit.
one.
Yeah.
I think there was like a
'Cause
lot
it is a
lot
comedy.
more wit than
I would agree with that. Yeah.
the game master.
And I agree. I think there are many times where I laughed, and it's like, oh, you didn't get any points for that.
No,
That's,
yeah.
Yeah, I also think it's very vague, this thing of like, if you talk about the past or winter or the future, then you get points, but sometimes that happened and you didn't, so I think they have to be clearer about that.
It should be a speech with underscoring.
Yes, that would be great.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. Did you have someone online?
No, I was going to say, for this feature-length episode of Game of Thrones, we have done a feature-length
Feature-length,
episode
yes.
of Couch of Thrones.
Thank you very much for joining us, for all your comments and all your questions. We've loved doing this.
It's so much fun.
We've loved being in the league, but we've also loved doing this this Facebook Live show, so we're going to hopefully be back in the next season. We might also do another...
We're talking about
We might do
Westworld, maybe,
Westworld.
so
we
let
might-
us know
yeah,
if you're
we're-
interested in that.
We're thinking about of doing some other league stuff and some other after shows. So let us know. I know Pat Hollinger was interested in Outlander. So let us know if there's a show that you're really into that you'd love to have this kind of show and interact with. We would love to do that.
Because we're having a great time, guys.
Having a great time.
All right.
So thank you very much.
To next season,
To
everyone.
next season.
See you
Thanks,
then.
guys.
Oh.
There's one drop. There's one
Here
drop.
we go. Here we go, guys.
To the old
Thank
gods
you.
and the
Yeah.
new.
Thrones, yeah. Couch of Thrones, yeah. Couch of Thrones. Fucking Couch of Thrones. Fucking Couch of Thrones. Fucking Couch of Thrones.